What is going on, guys? It is Wrestlelamia here, back with another video. It's the last Raw 2020. Will the WWE phone it in as it usually does, or surprise the fans with something big? Join us now as we analyze this week's edition of Raw and look at the wildest wrestling news stories and rumors you need to know, including wrestlers upset with Brodie Lee's tribute on Raw, Charlotte Flair's attire slip, the possible meaning behind Brodie Lee's tweet, AEW honoring Brodie Lee on Dynamite, and much more. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos, and follow us on Facebook for exclusive lists. As always, we start off with the good as number 1, WWE Superstars honor Brodie Lee. And despite a meager mention of the passing of Brodie Lee, aka Jon Huber, the Raw roster made it their mission to honor their friend. Whether it was Xavier Woods wearing a black armband with Brodie on it, Woods hitting Lee's discus punch, as well as announcer Tom Phillips saying Lee's catchphrase "yeah yeah yeah," the WWE Superstars got in as many tributes to Lee as possible. Things opened up with Drew McIntyre saying "it's Monday night," and you know what that means, as well as Alexa Bliss getting a "yeah yeah yeah" into her promo on Alexa's Playground. Good stuff by the WWE Superstars and announcers. Number 2, a diabolical year for the Legend Killer. Randy Orton ended 2020 the same way as he's carried out things the entire year, by carving out a path of destruction. Orton has been at the top of his game this year and arguably done the best work of his career. He didn't slow down last night, cutting a killer promo on Alexa Bliss, as well as wiping out the Firefly Funhouse set along with Huskus the Pig and Ramblin' Rabbit. Yeah, take that, you damn rabbit. Number 3, a dominating faction. The Hurt Business are simply the best thing going on Raw's undercard right now, with the championship collective of Cedric Alexander, Shelton Benjamin, Bobby Lashley and MVP dominating the ring and the microphone. This fantastic faction has brought back the concept of the heels you love to hate and deep down probably can't help but admire because they're so cool. The Hurt Business are the best thing to come out of the WWE in a long time, and incredibly, the WWE hasn't found a way to ruin them. Hopefully not just yet. Number 4, hope for Keith Lee. Have the reports of Keith Lee's lack of a push been greatly exaggerated? Well, that might be the case if last night's Raw is any indication, as Lee went from just another talented performer on standby into a number 1 contender for Drew McIntyre's WWE title. Now, we've covered Lee's awful push since his promising debut on Raw many times before, so there's no need to rehash it. Now, although it's unlikely Lee will win the championship, getting in the main event title picture is a good way to get his push back. Number 5, a strong ending. It was refreshing to see the WWE treating the last show of 2020 as more than just a throwaway episode. The Royal Rumble is still a month away, but the WWE has considerable work to do in rebuilding Raw after its record low ratings. Making Raw into must-see television is a big goal, but the WWE can't expect to get there overnight. We love the idea of WWE doing cliffhangers, and that is what happened on last night's Raw. We hope last night's show was the beginning of the journey, although you can be certain we're not holding our breath waiting for lasting change. But that was the good. What about the bad? Is number 1, the promo problem. The while Raw has a number of systematic problems, one that's easily corrected is its over-reliance on the formula of a promo followed by a match. This was seen last night when Drew McIntyre started a promo only to be interrupted by Sheamus and Keith Lee. After a verbal exchange, Sheamus and Lee were then booked into a number 1 contenders match for McIntyre's championship. Now, this might be entertaining if it weren't for the fact that the WWE Universe has seen this scenario play out seemingly every week on both Raw and SmackDown. The WWE needs to change things up because this formula is clearly not working. Number 2, more than just a graphic. Now, while it was good to see the WWE at least acknowledge the passing of Jon Huber, aka WWE superstar Luke Harper and AEW star Brodie Lee, the WWE's failure to do a 10-bell salute or video package was a little disappointing. As we'll see later in the news, a number of fans and wrestlers are outraged by the WWE's efforts. Number 3, Mr. Money in the Bank is back. What? The WWE continues to make things up as they go along, this time giving The Miz back his Money in the Bank briefcase, as WWE official Adam Pearce announced Miz never officially cashed it in since John Morrison signaled for it to be cashed in. This bizarre reversal of fortune for The Miz is good for him, but further dilutes the Money in the Bank briefcase's value. The WWE's history of changing stipulations is legendary, and this segment only solidified things. Number 5, Retribution vs Ricochet. Where's the remote? And despite lots of talent and lots of storyline potential, the program between Retribution and Ricochet has become the 2020 version of the bathroom break match. The biggest problem, of course, is that the WWE has given the fans zero reason to think Retribution and Ricochet are worth their time, having jobbed Retribution largely since its debut and Ricochet since he dropped the US Championship to AJ Styles. As bad as that is, the WWE has put no effort into creating a compelling storyline for the two sides. For example, what's so great about Ricochet that Retribution wants him in their group? Now, there was nothing downright ugly about last night's show, and it was refreshing to see the WWE treating the last show of 2020 as more than just a throwaway episode. Just look at the difference between last year's end of Raw and this year's. It's quite a stark difference. The Royal Rumble is still a month away, but the WWE has considerable work to do in rebuilding Raw after its record low ratings. As we said before, the ratings won't change overnight, but hopefully this is the start of things. What did you guys think of Raw? Let us know in the comments down below. Now let's move on to the news. Now our first story looks at a former WWE superstar criticizing WWE's tribute to Brodie Lee. The WWE's minimalist approach to acknowledging the passing of Jon Huber has been met with disappointment and outrage by fans and wrestlers alike. Former WWE superstar Kurt Hawkins, aka Brian Myers, tweeted his thoughts saying, "No 10-bell salute, no video package. This man was beloved by his peers and we're all grieving hard. This isn't right." Myers isn't the only wrestler who commented on the WWE's lack of mentioning Harper's career. Recently, the WWE's Twitter page announced, "Learn a little about the life and journey of Jon Huber in this candid documentary," to which Kevin Nash replied, "Very little." While it's unlikely to happen, the WWE could fix things by honoring Huber with a bigger tribute on SmackDown. Next up, AEW changes Dynamite to a Brodie Lee tribute. One promotion that is honoring Brodie Lee's life and career is AEW, where Tony Khan announced some big changes to the 30th December edition of Dynamite. He tweeted, "This Wednesday on AEW Dynamite, we'll celebrate the life of Jon Huber, Mr. Brodie Lee, with a show including tributes and special card of matches dedicated to the Exalted One. This night is intended to honor Jon, but also this is for Amanda and their sons Brodie and Nolan." Khan also informed fans that its previously scheduled New Year's Smash special will take place on 6th and 13th January. Wednesday's Dynamite promises to be an emotional night and might be a good way to start the healing process for Jon Huber's many friends and family. Next up, the meaning behind Brodie Lee's tweets. Now, Brodie Lee's passing has hit the wrestling community hard, but there's already a movement to give the fans a subtle reminder of him every Wednesday on Dynamite by opening the show with, "It's Wednesday, you know what that means." This of course is in reference to Brodie Lee's tweets where he would name a day and say, "You know what that means." The phrase has puzzled fans for some time now, and Lee discussed it with Fox Sports' Nick Schwartz back in 2017. Fox Sports asked, "I have to ask you about your Twitter account because you tweet the same thing each and every day. You know what that means. What's going on there and how did it start?" Harper replied, "So today is Thursday, and if I was to say to you, you know what that means, what would you say?" "I'm not sure. That there's 24 days until WrestleMania?" Harper answered, "Okay, well there's your answer. It means something very specific to me that people may never know, but when I write that and you say what you just said, you get yourself your answer. That's what it means to you." Do you think AEW should incorporate Brodie Lee's catchphrase to honor his memory? Let us know in the comments down below. Next up, Charlotte Flair's costume conundrum. When a wrestler returns from a long hiatus, there's always the risk of overexposing them to remind fans why the wrestler in question is so important. However, last night's Raw almost saw a different type of overexposure for Charlotte Flair. The Queen was wrestling Nia Jax when it appears that things started creeping out. Ringside News commented on what happened, saying, "Charlotte Flair kicked out of a near fall during her match against Nia Jax. Then the screen blacked out. This was a definite malfunction. When Flair got up, it was apparent that things were a bit out of place. The WWE is used to these things and thankfully it won't have to deal with the embarrassment of screen captures flooding the internet." And finally, more Royal Rumble entrants have been announced. Now, the 2021 Royal Rumble is scheduled for 31st January and WWE already has 3 names announced for the show. Daniel Bryan announced on the Christmas edition of SmackDown that he's entering the event, and last night's Raw saw the official announcement that Bobby Lashley and Nia Jax have entered as well. Shayna Baszler announced she's entering, but the WWE has not officially confirmed this. But there you have it guys, the good, the bad and the downright ugly from this week's edition of Raw, as well as the wildest wrestling news stories. Be sure to leave your comments down below, subscribe if you haven't already, follow us on Instagram and Facebook for exclusive lists, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.